I always thought I knew my wife. We'd been married for 7 years, and in that time, I believed there were no secrets between us. We had our routines, our quiet evenings, and our weekend movie marathons. Everything felt normal, but normal can be a disguise, and I learned that the hard way. It all started on a rainy Thursday. Claire, my wife, was unusually quiet that morning. She barely touched her toast, kept glancing at her phone, and didn't meet my eyes like she usually did. I asked if everything was okay. She smiled, said she was just tired. I believed her. I always did. But now I wonder, how many other times had I believed her lies? I work from home. Claire doesn't. She's a nurse at a nearby private clinic and works long shifts. On that Thursday, she left the house in a rush, forgetting her lunch. I called out to remind her, but she was already gone. I shrugged it off, made myself another cup of coffee, and got to work. But something kept bugging me that morning. Her eyes, her phone, the way she avoided me. Around noon the power flickered, not unusual considering the storm outside, but I heard something then, a sound, a low hum, almost mechanical, coming from the basement. It was faint but steady. It didn't sound like the heater, and it sure as hell wasn't the washing machine. We hadn't done laundry in days. I hesitated. The basement has always given me weird vibes. It's dark, cramped, and filled with boxes we never unpacked after our move 3 years ago. Claire usually handled things down there. She even told me once, don't bother going down, it's just junk and old stuff. I never questioned it. Why would I? But that day, the hum was like a whisper in my ear, calling me. I grabbed a flashlight and headed down. The air felt colder the moment I opened the door. I flicked the switch. Nothing. The bulb had died, so I clicked on my flashlight. The beam cut through the dust like a blade, catching motes dancing in the stale air. The basement looked normal at first. Just old boxes, a broken lamp, our unused treadmill, and random stuff. I scanned the space slowly, listening. The hum was louder now, still faint but constant. I followed the sound. That's when I noticed the wall. It wasn't part of the original structure. You could tell. The paint was newer, cleaner. And oddly enough, there were scuff marks near the floor, as if something had been dragged back and forth repeatedly. My heart started pounding. I ran my hand along the wall and felt a slight draft coming from the edges. My fingers caught on a small ridge, almost like a seam, a hidden door. I froze. My mind was screaming not to go further, but curiosity had already won. I looked around, found an old screwdriver, and started poking at the edges. To my surprise, the panel clicked and popped open slightly. It wasn't locked, just sealed. I pulled it open slowly, and the hum suddenly stopped. Dead silence. The room beyond was pitch black. My flashlight flickered for a second, and I nearly dropped it. I swallowed hard and stepped in. It took a second for my eyes to adjust. The space was small, maybe 10 by 10 feet. The walls were bare concrete, and the floor was covered in what looked like a thick, black rug. In the middle of the room was a wooden table. On top, an old radio, a stack of notebooks, and a photo of Claire. But not just any photo. It was Claire with a man I'd never seen before. They were standing close, too close. She was smiling at him the way she used to smile at me when we first met. My stomach twisted. I picked up the photo with trembling hands. On the back in messy handwriting were the words, "And you promised." November 3rd, 2016. That date meant nothing to me. But the handwriting, was it hers? It looked familiar, but not quite the same. I flipped through the notebooks, page after page filled with entries, codes, drawings, maps. I couldn't make sense of most of it. But then I found one line that froze me solid. Can never know. Not until it's done. And backed out of the room, my breath coming fast. What the hell was this? Who was the man in the photo? What couldn't I know? The moment I closed the panel, the humming returned, just like that. As if the room had a mind of its own. I stood there in the darkness of the basement, notebook in hand. My world suddenly flipped upside down. I wanted to wait until Claire got home, confront her, demand answers. But something in me whispered that might not be a good idea. What if she lied? Worse, what if she didn't? So I did what any desperate, confused husband would do. I started digging. Back upstairs, I searched through our photo albums, our files, even her old laptop. I looked for that man's face, that date, anything that could explain what I'd just seen. Nothing. Until I opened a folder labeled ARC Receipts. Inside, I found a scan of an old ID badge. Not hers. His. Dr. Michael Abrams. He worked at the same clinic Claire did. Or used to. The file said deceased at the bottom. Died in a car crash in 2017. Suddenly I remembered the date on the photo, November 3rd, 2016. That was just months before his death. And Claire, she never mentioned him. Not once, not in all the years we'd been together. The clock read 5:30 p.m. Claire would be home by 6. I sat on the couch, notebooks spread out in front of me, heart racing, because now I had more questions than ever, and I wasn't sure I wanted the answers. Claire walked in right on time, 6 p.m. sharp. She shook off her coat, kissed me on the cheek like nothing had changed, and asked how my day was. I tried to act normal, calm, but I could feel my hands sweating, my heart thumping like a drum in my chest. The secrets in that basement were still burning in my mind, and I was sure my face gave it away. But if she noticed, she didn't say anything. I didn't bring it up right away. Instead, I watched her. Really watched her. The way she moved, the way her eyes lingered on her phone, the way she avoided the basement door. That's when it hit me. She knew someone had been down there. Later that evening, while she showered, I slipped back into the basement. I had to take another look. Maybe I missed something. The hum greeted me again as I stepped through the hidden door. The notebooks were still there, untouched, but something was off. A drawer I hadn't noticed before was now slightly open. Inside I found a flash drive. No label, just a plain black stick. I pocketed it and headed back upstairs, heart pounding in my ears. I plugged it into my laptop with shaky fingers, half expecting some virus or locked files. But no, there were 3 video files. Just 3. I clicked the first one. The screen flickered and showed Claire. She looked younger, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Her hair was shorter, and she wore a nervous smile. She was standing in that same room in the basement. "On test number 1, she said into the camera. "Subject stable." He responded well to the compound, better than expected. "Michael thinks we're close, but I'm still not sure about this. I don't like keeping it from him, from Alex." That was my name. I paused the video. My breath caught in my throat. Compound? Subject? What the hell was she talking about? I clicked the second video. This time, Claire wasn't alone. The man from the photo, Dr. Michael Abrams, stood beside her, both wearing lab coats. The walls behind them had strange symbols drawn in chalk. The camera angle shifted to show a metal table in the center of the room. A man lay on it, unmoving. I couldn't see his face. Claire's voice trembled. "Den test number 3 failed. The subject's brain activity spiked and then flatlined. Michael wants to push forward, but I'm not sure we should. We're crossing a line." The third video, I almost didn't watch it, but I had to. I needed the truth. This one was newer, dated just 2 weeks ago. Claire sat alone, eyes red, cheeks wet with tears. "And it's done," she whispered. "And Michael's gone. And I can't stop now. They'll come looking. I know it, but Alex can never know. If he finds out what I've done, he'll never forgive me. He'll think I'm a monster. Maybe I am." The video ended with her staring into the camera for a long, empty moment before reaching out and switching it off. I sat frozen in front of my screen for what felt like hours. My wife, my sweet, caring, loving wife, was part of something dark, something secret, and it wasn't over. That night, I didn't sleep. I pretended to, but every time Claire shifted in bed, I flinched. My mind raced with possibilities. Was she part of some experiment? Were they trying to bring someone back? What was the compound she mentioned? And what exactly had she done? The next morning, I followed her. She left for work at 7 a.m. like usual, but instead of going straight to the clinic, she took a detour through the old industrial district, past a bunch of rundown buildings, and finally into a warehouse that looked abandoned from the outside. I parked a block away and waited. After 15 minutes, she hadn't come out. So I went in. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the warehouse smelled of chemicals and mold. Dust coated the floor, but recent footprints led down a narrow hallway. I followed them slowly, trying not to breathe too loud. The hum was there too, faint, just like the basement. I found a room at the end of the hall. The door was slightly ajar. I peeked inside, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Claire stood over a metal table, another one. On it lay another body, but this one moved, twitching, struggling, hooked up to wires and monitors. Beside her was a tall man in a long black coat. I couldn't see his face, but he wasn't Michael. He was someone else, someone new. "I told you we needed more time," Claire hissed. The man's voice was calm. We don't have time. They're watching. You should have stopped after Michael." Claire glanced toward the door, and I swear, for a split second she looked straight at me. I stepped back fast, heart hammering. I ran, Back in the car, I sat gripping the steering wheel, sweat dripping down my neck. She was hiding more than a secret room. She was involved in something deep, dangerous, and maybe even illegal. And now I wasn't just a curious husband, I was a witness. That evening I tried to act normal again. But Claire was different, colder. She barely spoke during dinner. When I asked how her day was, she mumbled something about a meeting and disappeared upstairs. At 11 p.m. she kissed me goodnight, said I love you, and turned off the light. But I didn't sleep, because now I knew something she didn't. And I wasn't sure how long I could keep it to myself. I didn't go to work the next morning. I couldn't. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my cold coffee, trying to breathe through the weight pressing down on my chest. My wife was part of something I didn't understand. Something wrong, something big, and worse, I wasn't sure if I was in danger, or if she was. My thoughts circled the same questions over and over. Who was that man in the warehouse? Who were they? The ones she said were watching? And what did she mean by, Michael's gone? Was he dead? Did she kill him? I needed answers, real ones, not just video clips and shadows. I knew confronting Claire might be the biggest mistake of my life, but I had to do it. I couldn't keep living in this spiral of fear and secrets. So that night, after dinner, I waited until we were both in bed. I let the silence settle. I let her think I had moved on, that I was asleep. Then, with my heart in my throat, I whispered, Claire, what happened to Michael? The silence was sharp. I felt her body go still beside me. She didn't answer right away. Then, in a voice barely louder than a breath, she said, "Ain't you watched the videos?" I didn't deny it. She sat up in the dark. I followed her lead, facing her. Her silhouette was just visible in the moonlight coming through the blinds. "I was going to tell you," she said. "Oh, but once I started lying, it just kept growing." "What are you doing down there?" I asked. "What was that thing in the warehouse?" She swallowed hard. It started as research. Me and Michael, we were working on neural recovery, trying to heal brain damage, restore memory loss, things like that. But then, a private group got involved. They wanted more than healing. They wanted resurrection. I blinked. Resurrection? She nodded. Not in the religious sense. They were looking for ways to bring back human consciousness, digital backups of the brain, stimulants to kickstart a dead mind, things I didn't even think were possible. But then the tests, they started working. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So what, the guy in the warehouse? Was he?" "He was the sixth," she whispered. "And he's the only one that survived longer than 48 hours. But he's not stable. None of them are." I felt a chill run through me. "And Michael?" She paused. "He didn't die in an accident like I told you. He wanted to shut it all down. The funding group, they didn't. He disappeared. I think they killed him. And if they find out I told you, if they think you're a threat..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. "What do we do?" I asked, my voice cracking. She looked at me with teary eyes. "And I can't protect both of us. They know someone's been snooping. I covered for you at the warehouse, said it was a homeless guy. But if they catch on..." I grabbed her hand. "And we run." Her eyes widened. "Run? Yeah. We disappear. Take the flash drive, the notes, everything. Expose them if we have to. Or just vanish. But we can't stay here. Not like this." She hesitated. But then slowly she nodded. We moved fast after that. In silence, we packed only what mattered. She dug through the basement and pulled out 2 notebooks I hadn't even seen before. Ones she'd hidden in a panel behind the wall. They looked like blueprints, diagrams, data logs, all written in her neat handwriting. She stuffed them into a bag along with the flash drive. As the sun began to rise, we loaded our things into the car. Claire kept looking over her shoulder like someone was watching. I couldn't blame her. I felt it too, that crawling sensation that eyes were on us, somewhere out of sight. We were just pulling out of the driveway when a black SUV turned onto our street. Claire froze. "That's them." I hit the gas. We didn't wait. Tires screeched. Claire shouted directions, telling me where to turn, how to lose them. The SUV followed for blocks. Then 2 more joined in. My heart pounded in my ears as I turned sharply onto a side road, blowing through a red light. Cars honked. Claire clutched the door, her bag tight in her arms. Finally, we made it to a highway ramp. I spotted a construction site just ahead. Without thinking, I veered the car through a narrow opening between barriers and into the lot. We ducked behind an old shipping container. Engines roared past us on the road above. Silence. We stayed hidden for hours. Finally, when it was dark, we left the car behind and walked. Hours later, we were on a bus to nowhere heading west. Claire never stopped looking over her shoulder. I never let go of her hand. Days passed. We found a cheap motel. She encrypted the files, sent them to a journalist she once trusted. An anonymous leak. The story would come out eventually, and maybe justice would follow. But we couldn't wait for that. Not anymore. We got fake IDs, changed our names, started over. I look at Claire sometimes, this woman I thought I knew, and wonder who she really is now. She's not just my wife. She's a survivor, a scientist, a woman who tried to fix something broken and ended up tangled in something dark. And me? I'm just the guy who opened the wrong door in the basement. But if I hadn't, I'd still be living in the lie. Now, we live in the shadows, watching the world from the edges, always ready to run. But at least we're together. And I'll keep her secret, as long as we stay one step ahead. Because they're still out there, and they don't forgive loose ends.